Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. This time, Haven. You may need a Haven after, I don't know, how's your new year going? Who knows? I don't know. Hopefully well. Maybe you don't need a Haven. Maybe you're the Haven. Anyway, Haven here. It's all been checked before. Speaking of Havens, you know I'm going to say it. Patreon.com/IABD. Great way to support us. Keep this mission going. Yeah, keep our mission going. Keep the entire IABD mission going. Want to check out more about IABD? IABD Presents.com. It's a Haven, and we're talking about a Haven on It's All Been Trekked Before. Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your regular hosts are here. This is Stephen.
And Keith.
Jimmy-Jerome. We are here to talk about the Next Generation episode, Haven, First Impressions. I'll call it a fun episode for lack of a better term. I liked it just off the top that there was no imminent threat. No, like, oh, this not end of the world, but oh no. No, it was a pleasant seems like an insult. It was a good episode. We got to know more about a lot of the characters, especially Troi. Had some cool interesting aliens, an interesting alien world. And then they threw the threat in, the disease ship. Yeah. But it wasn't I guess that was the threat, but it wasn't. But it wasn't urgent, like, yeah, we're gonna die. Yeah, and I guess this is a very Next Generation, because they had a very deliberative talk about what do we do with this ship, and what are all the ethical considerations, and yada yada yada. I've got notes that plays into that a lot. Just as Steven said, then we'll get back to First Impression. Sorry, but when Riker's trying to excuse himself from the dinner, his excuse is, I need to go consider the situation. Yes. And I'm like, if you told that to your boss now, like, hey, can I leave this meeting so I can go consider the situation? But in Next Gen, I mean, if somebody had said it to Kirk, he would. If it was anybody but Spock had said it to Kirk, he'd be like, no. But with Next Gen, here, Mister. Next Gen, Picard's like, of course you're gonna go consider that. That's the best thing to do. Yeah. So my general first impression, I like this episode a lot. Keith?
Yeah. Well, I think Steven's wrong. I think fun is the right term for this.
Oh, okay. And pleasant.
There's no better term for it.
All right. Oh, that's good to know.
I think the conflict came into play with it was interesting that they were starting from a position of power in the entire thing. It wasn't like the ship's going to be destroyed, but it is you're getting pressure put on you because of the power of the situation they're in. You have the people on the planet saying, you have to kill them now. Like,
right.
No.
They weren't like gonna destroy the Enterprise.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point.
I could have stated it better, I think, but just
no, I like it. And I liked this episode. I would dare say I love this episode. I know Lwaxana Troi is a polarizing figure, and people tend to either love her or hate her. I fall into the lover category, personally. I just thought she was great in this. It reminds me of like Trouble with Tribbles. It's a lighthearted, fun little romp. But it reminded me a lot of Amok Time, except like when they started the episode, you could almost be forgiven for thinking, okay, it's just going to be Amok Time rewritten. But that's not what it was. The very, very beginning of the episode, I thought it was Shore Leave again, because they literally say the opening lines essentially. Yeah. Shore Leave and whatever the other Shore Leave episodes we've had. But then they got away from that, and I was happy about
Paradise Planet stuff. We're above a great place, and we've got these miracles and stuff.
They actually call it Haven. Yeah. They're legends. They're fools. So, starting at the beginning, the Legends comment where Picard was like, legends sometimes turn out to be true and all that. Yeah. I felt that was a little cheesy. It was. A little,
I missed it the first time through. And this time I caught it. It was like, oh, he must, or the significance of what he was foreshadowing. Yeah. I didn't fully catch that.
And then we go to Riker in his quarters where he's watching holograms of women play harps and smiling a little too happily. I guess that's his version of porn, because he is a musician. Yeah, I wrote Riker's porn collection sucks. And they look like extras from Quark. Yeah, they did. Which isn't the worst thing, because Kirstie Alley was one. So go listen to our special episode on Quark. We talk about, especially Kirstie Alley. But the 1970s sitcom, not to be confused with the character on Deep Space Nine named Quark, played by Armin Shimmerman, who was in this episode.
I was going to say that's
second Next Generation episode he's been in. Is he he was the box. Okay. He was the face in the box. Okay. He was previously a Ferengi.
You beat me to the transition.
Sorry.
For Quark. But also, before we get too far away from his porn collection, we don't know. I mean, he was interrupted. Maybe the good part hadn't happened. He was waiting for it. He's like, "Yep, this is about to happen." Then, nope.
Then somebody, the pizza delivery guy shows up.
It could have been something like that.
Sorry, the space pizza delivery guy. No, my thinking was he's a musician. We see him play trombone and jazz in other episodes, and maybe music gets his engine revving. I believe it. Then we get the gift box with Armin Shimmerman in the transporter room. I loved the juxtaposition of that scene where there was all this happy music for the box, and then you cut to Troi, and she's just like horror. Yeah. Like, this is the worst thing that can happen. It's such a shift in tone. I appreciated that a lot.
Why was she surprised? Didn't she know this? She knew this day was coming, right?
She mentioned later that they all just sort of forgot about it, like it wasn't actually followed through on. Right. Something was like a
until she saw the box and she's like, "Uh-oh,
yeah,
time's up."
It was like a
#time's up.
Probably like a thing.
Not what that means.
Probably a couple things that her parents were just sort of doing to be doing back then. Yeah. It was like, oh, that's never going to happen.
I guess I could,
and move away.
I can see that.
I feel like, so the real time's up hashtag's a good thing. This time's up hashtag's a bad thing. So it's, what struck me off the box too is, my immediate thought is, greeting cards keep getting more elaborate and more expensive with the playing of the music. That box, man, how would you spend that much money on a greeting card filled with jewels and talking and all that?
Well, at the end, didn't the dad say, hey, hold on to that, you might need it?
The gift box?
He said the chest.
Yeah, he did say the chest.
Is that what he was talking about?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe, or it could have been, no.
Because that would have been the groom's parents' present, right? Because they said it was a wedding gift for Troi.
Well, wasn't that was
the dowry, basically.
That's probably the chest.
Okay. So
yeah, that was in the set.
Since
right?
they don't, shouldn't they have taken the chest and beamed it over to the other woman?
I guess they should have, but
like you give back the ring after you break up the engagement, right?
Yeah, and were they just talking to Deanna Troi and saying keep the chest?
Yeah.
It's gonna come in handy later, which it comes handy all the time. Yep, I went there. Boom.
It comes in handy because she doesn't have a man and it does have a working tongue.
My immediate reaction to seeing the box was Mecca lecca hi, Mecca hiney ho. That's all I could think of was Pee-wee's Playhouse.
So then we get some Troi Riker moment talking about everything, and she calls him Bill, which I don't think we've heard her do.
No.
And I know in later films and stuff she calls him Will.
Yeah.
I can't remember if in the book Imzadi she calls him Bill, but I want to say probably because that was written during this part.
Does she not call him Will? Because no,
So my guess is,
does everybody else call him Will, or not everybody else? Other people?
Yeah, they call him Will.
Okay.
And so she's got ancient history with him, so maybe people used to call him Bill. But my thinking was clearly he's partially named for William Shatner, William T. Riker, like James T. Kirk.
That makes sense.
And they call William Shatner Bill.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's my guess of where that came from.
That's where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
Bill's my dad, so that's all I think of.
Oh, your dad's Bill Shatner? That explains so much.
Bill Woosley.
Oh, okay.
Or Billy Badass Woosley. Sorry, Chris.
So William Shatner's his stage name?
Yes.
Okay. So then we beam aboard the Millers. Mr. Miller immediately starts with quite some starship. I'm like, you've seen the transporter room, dude.
Yeah.
Calm yourself until you see a little bit more of it. Also, his name is Stephen Miller, which in today's climate, that name does not hold up.
Not so good.
This does bring me to my first of 3 alternate episodes, though, where it is the Stephen Miller from the Trump administration. He's a vampire.
Oh, that's...
so
he's still alive in the 24th century. And then he's got this man that he's enthralled, that he's pretending is his son. And it's really a horror episode instead of a fun romp.
Speaking of horror, I like that the Betazoids have the shining ability to talk without just through their thoughts.
Yes, but Lwaxana, and we'll get to her in a minute, but she talks very much with her hands while she's doing that, which seems a little bit odd. Like, it felt like too much. They went, we got to give her something to do, and she just has to act. I don't know. I thought that was very awkward.
I agree.
That's my only criticism of her performance in the entire episode. And it was probably a directorial note, too, I'm guessing.
While we're on, I mentioned I was surprised Troi was surprised, but the whole rest of the crew has no idea how this works. And
sure.
I know I've been saying this since TOS, but get to know your fellow crew members.
They've only been on the mission together a couple months.
I guess, but
give them a little time.
But wouldn't they know about beta? There's other Betazoids, right?
I don't know. I don't think there are other Betazoids in Starfleet. Again, we get another first of their race because the telepathy. They don't like being around a lot of non-humans. If you get into the lore and the Imzadi book, because they constantly hear everybody's thoughts, and other Beta Zeds have learned how to kind of patrol and sheriff their own thoughts because they're used to everybody hearing.
Right.
But other species don't, and so it's very chaotic and hard for them to be around too many non-betazoids.
So it's not like when Mel Gibson in What Women Want could read.
No. You were talking about Troy's surprise.
Yeah.
Me too, because even if it's not foremost on her mind, you know there had to be those lonely nights as a teenager or in college where she's doesn't have a man and she's like,
right.
I wonder what that guy looks like.
Right.
And Googles him or Facebook him so that she would know what he looks like.
Right.
I mean, I get why he doesn't Google her because he thinks he knows what she looks like because of his dreams.
Right, which is still also weird.
And that was never explained.
No.
I like it, but it was never explained.
What do you mean it wasn't explained?
How the dreams even happened.
Yeah, the Trellian was projecting into his mind, and the Troy's mentioned on a couple of occasions that he seemed unusually capable of receiving telepathy.
But why, when they were giving us the whole data dump, that's our new word for exposition by data, when they're giving us the whole data dump, why didn't they mention any of the Trellian's telepathic abilities or ability to project into dreams if that was such a key part of their civilization?
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just something that she could do. Maybe they had some sort of fate connection or something. She seemed to imply that.
I may just be speaking for me, but aren't hot blondes implanted in every young boy's mind?
No. Hot brunettes, hot redheads.
All right, fair enough.
Well, just not the same one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that whole thing was just a little bit weird and a little bit too neat, but also, I don't think it was coincidence. He was drawn to that place. They were drawn to that place because of the dreams, because of the connection. So it's not like, oh, we just happened to run into each other. You know what I mean?
Is the idea that, I mean, because he's not going to save them. He's just going to...
He's a doctor. He said he'd find a cure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was doing some research before he even... He was supposed to beam over the...
I guess nobody's been working on it because they're like, well, they're dead. We don't need to work on it.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
There could have been a lot of advancements in the meantime, and people were just like, let's just kill them. It's easier.
Yeah.
It's just like the people on
So
the
he
surface.
is conceivably their savior.
Yes.
What I didn't get, though,
Although he could have saved them without beaming over.
They mentioned that the Trellians were at late 20th century technology before they were wiped out, and yet they have starships and they're traveling around the galaxy. Did not get that.
Well, maybe not our late 20th century.
I thought they said the equivalent to 20th century Earth.
Then that's a problem.
Okay. Chameleon Rose. That was kind of unnecessary and weird.
Yeah, I noted that it never
The Chameleon
changed.
Rose.
Oh.
It did change. I saw it change colors a couple times.
Okay,
Really?
But it was never part of the plot. Nobody commented on it. It didn't mean anything. It
Yeah.
didn't signal anything.
Every time I saw her holding it after that, it always seemed like white or silver.
After her conversation with her mother, it turned like purple.
Ah.
Yeah. So we get to Lwaxana Troi's introduction. Let me get this correct. Lwaxana Troi, daughter of the 5th House of Beta Zed, holder of the Sacred Chalice of Rix, and heir to the Holy Rings of Beta Zed. I used to have that memorized. I have forgotten.
Wow.
Well, because if you read enough novels with her in them, it says it every time she shows up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
funny.
And there's even a novel where, I can't remember if it's the Sacred Chalice of Rix or the Holy Rings, but she gives one of them to her daughter. And Deanna gets one of those titles. So it's kind of like Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons, blah, 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 you know? I like Lwaxana Troi.
And I would have preferred this. No, we're just quibbling, but that's what we do on this podcast. I wish when she'd said that to Wyatt's mom, right? Yeah, right. Well, who are you? And she just said, I like to paint, or something like that. Just something rather than just, I don't know what to say. I wish she'd had a. It would have been more interesting if the other. I felt like they undersold Wyatt's mom and dad. Anyway.
You think they were just too overmatched?
Yeah, I think it would have been more interesting because I thought, and I get what you're saying about her, Lwaxana being polarizing and overpowering. I guess that's the idea, but it would have been more fun if it was a sparring match rather than a beatdown.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying she has to be on her level. Just like if it'd just been more interesting, like, well, I like to paint. Oh, well, I like Spaceball or whatever, something.
So that brings me to my second alternate episode of 3. Make this a true movie comedy about in-laws coming together for a wedding, a la Meet the Parents or Meet the Fockers or whatever. That would have been very entertaining. But
Might have been better.
so Lwaxana Troi's first words as she's facing backwards is, "Where is everybody?"
Right.
And that's just immediately like, really, woman? Yeah. I mean, clearly it's for dramatic intent. But then we get the best interaction and the best acting in the entire episode where Picard lugs her bag. Like, just all of his reactions of, oh, no problem. And then his, oh, God, this is heavy. And then him trying to do it. And then them, like, being like, Mr. Holm, that's his job. He's like, well, far be it for me to stand in his way. And the whole thing with the bag was just hilarious.
Yeah,
to me.
I put in that this is one of the earlier episodes where you finally get to see Patrick Stewart's comic timing and just
Yeah.
something about the expressions. Just the Emmy talk for him just bowing out of the room, like that was amazing.
I thought all that
Just
stuff was good, and
Yeah.
just along the lines of
Yes.
his whole motivation is, well, it's a wedding, and a lot of people, me included, are like, oh, it's a wedding, you have to, the people that are involved got to be treated with respect, and you got to take care of them and everything else. So he's doing that, but at the same time, he's like, what did I sign on for? And handling her talking down to him and all that was great.
When Lwaxana calls her quarters small but adequate, which immediately I'm like, that's a name of your sex tape joke if I've ever heard one.
Actually, isn't that what Lwaxana Troi also says about her quarters?
Probably.
Because Uhura
they're similar characters.
Uhura lets her borrow her quarters, and I think she says something very similar. And
They are very similar characters. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
What was it?
Lwaxana Troi, her tears
From the
Make
original
You Love Her.
series?
Or her...
She was
the
Cleopatra-looking woman.
Yeah.
the spoiled
one.
princess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lwaxana's a bit like that.
Yeah.
This is what Lwaxana Troi grows up to be.
Yeah. Oh, is that right? Okay.
No, I mean, clearly, that Troy. There's lots of maybe that was purposeful.
There you go.
I don't know what it is. I don't think I would have recognized Majel.
Yeah, really. I mean, she doesn't look much like Chapel, but if you see her as like number one or something,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Also, she looked more like number one.
well, she went back to her natural hair color.
Yeah.
Number one.
In the cage,
Yeah.
Okay.
under Pike.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always liked Majel. I know she's got plenty of haters out there, but this is the exact type of character she should be playing if they're going to put her in Next Gen. And I'm sure she wanted to be in the show, and I just love that this is the part they came up with for her. I don't know. So the planetary leader, when she's like, help us.
The first Electra.
I thought she said that she was Electrolyte.
She's got electrolytes.
So,
Haven's got electrolytes.
looking at the IMDb page, was her name Valletta or Ariana? Ariana was the sick woman, right?
I think so.
Valletta, played by Anna Katrina, who you may know from The Game, 1997 film with Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Batman Returns, she played Poodle Lady.
Oh, I remember her.
She was in The Dictator as Angela Merkel. Or not Seth Rogen, Borat guy. Yeah. And she was a Vulcan council member in the 2009 movie Star Trek. So that is her second and only appearance in Star Trek. She says that the ship, the Terrellian ship, has bypassed their Stargate. I want to know. That immediately is like, what, Stargate? I want to hear about the Stargate. I want to know about the... Tell me about the Stargate.
Do they mean Stargate like the movie Stargate, or Stargate like Star Wars has Stargates?
They probably have some sort of planetary defense system.
No, they said they didn't have a planetary defense system.
I mean,
they said it was sure lucky the Enterprise is here the one time we're threatened.
I mean, in lieu of having some sort of offensive capabilities, I think they probably have some sort of gate system set up to... It seems to be... If I didn't remember her saying it, honestly, but...
So it's like... So that brings to mind a sketch from The State for me, where the guys are in prison, and they're like, you see that big open gate over there? Don't go through that gate.
Yeah.
And that's the Stargate. And then the way they fix it after the guy escapes and then eventually comes back is they put some traffic cones up. Yeah. I mean, that's their Stargate. Like, don't come in, please.
Yeah. I mean,
you came in. Well, there's going to be some changes around here.
Yeah, so it sounded like it's like a turnstile or like a booth where there's like, hey, who are you guys?
But a 360-degree orb that we don't see that encircles the whole planet from quite a bit out.
I have no idea.
Or is it like it'll get you there faster? It's the easy pass.
It's on the moon of this planet.
Right.
The James Spader has set up an easy pass gate for people to come visit. Probably.
I really liked her at first, and then I soured on her. Because at first I was like, oh, that's cool, she's in charge, and I liked the set behind her. And then she just became too...
alarmist.
Enterprise, what did you do? So, yeah.
I almost picked her as my man woman of Star Trek, and then
too,
changed my mind, but
we'll
get to that.
Yeah, she finished a distant second for me.
Oh, easily. I think I know who your first is, and I don't think it's the same as mine.
I don't think it is either.
So here is a great line. The point of marriage is we're going to be together a very long time.
I wrote down she's marrying a doctor.
She is. That's what her mother always wanted.
Yeah. And then I updated with he's also knows how to operate a transporter.
No, he had to wait till the coordinates were set.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he could just hit play and jump in.
He knew enough to button to push.
Yeah.
There must just be a big button that says go.
I think so. It says energize, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to the dinner party.
Oh, sorry. Well,
sorry.
I know I'm jumping ahead with that note, but transport room is another room that needs more security. It's always one guy, and as long as you
We don't have locked doors.
as long as you get rid of him, you can do whatever you want. You can transport people wherever, whenever you want, or anything for that matter.
The transporter chief was played by Michael Ryder, who was in the movie Roadhouse, and
I can see that.
did 4 episodes of The Next Generation, 3 as the transport chief. This was his final as transport chief. He did Code of Honor and The Naked
Well, he got
Now
fired
as well.
for that.
Well, then he comes back as a security guard 3 years later in the episode Reunion.
He worked his way back up to security.
Guard. I just was disappointed it wasn't Miles O'Brien, but I guess O'Brien would not be that incompetent.
I also did not expect his voice to be so deep. I don't know why. He was a big guy, but
He's fine.
Yeah.
Well, after the incident, they sent him to like some sort of seminars for security. It's like, you know what? I think I'll just be a security guard instead.
Speaking real quick of background actors, Nora Leonhardt appeared as a science division officer uncredited in this episode. This was actually her 7th appearance so far.
Wow.
She was in Encounter at Farpoint, Naked Now, Code of Honor, or No One Has Gone Before, Lonely Among Us, and Justice. And all 8 of these she's been science division ensign. And then she's going to do 3 more with that role, and then do 3 as command division ensign later down the road.
She must just always show up in the uniform and just be like waiting for them to be like, all right, you know what? Get in there.
It looks like she appeared pretty regularly from 87 to 89, 1987 to 89, and then she randomly is in an episode in 1994.
Huh.
So she came back. Maybe at the end.
Yeah.
Let's give those people something to do.
I love maybe we're already there, but Riker's married to not his starship, but a potential starship. Yeah.
So that got me thinking about, because they talked about how marriage doesn't really go well with Starfleet captain.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about, have we seen marriage with the Starfleet captain? And just going through the list, obviously Kirk is just married to the ship and whatever. Picard, doesn't come across the same way as Kirk,
right.
But we do get moments of insight that he has given up women for this career path.
Yeah.
Cisco doesn't become the commander of a station until after he loses his wife. He's just a junior officer with a wife. Janeway in Voyager, I don't remember if she's married or not, but she has a long-term man that she leaves back on Earth whenever she's gone to take care of the dogs. And then the Orville is probably our best example of a Starfleet captain with actual female romance.
Yeah.
Which we're going to count as canon, even though it's not. I mean, not quite canon.
Yeah. In Balance of Terror, original series, we had a couple on board getting married.
Sure, but those were junior officers.
Sure.
Neither one of them, maybe they didn't want to be captains.
They don't. If you're captain, you don't have time for it.
Right.
You only have time for
rendezvous.
not.
This has come up a little bit in the Orville, but it's a bit of a conflict of interest. If you're the captain and you have to send people on missions, you're going to think differently about your wife than you would another crewman. I mean, just like you don't want to have somebody under your managership in your department at work because it creates conflicts.
That's true.
On the Enterprise, nobody's over the captain, except I feel like Crusher, kind of a gray area because she gets to override him on things and she's a full commander. So I feel like that's why Picard and Crusher don't seem so bad, whereas other romances might.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Riker has feelings for Troi and vice versa.
Yes.
So that's happening, and he's not the captain, but isn't he ranked higher than her though?
I don't think so. I think they're both commanders.
Riker and Troi?
Yeah, but if Picard leaves, he's not putting Troi in charge.
No, Riker's second in command.
Right. So then, if Picard gets hurt, then Riker's going to be in the same position he would be in if he got his own starship.
Well, and interestingly, and this is a spoiler alert, eventually, in the last Next Generation film, Riker and Troi do get married, and Riker does get his own ship, and she goes and serves with them.
Damn it, I'd forgotten that.
Oh, well, I'll forget.
You'll forget again.
I'll forget it by then.
So maybe that's a discussion we'll have to have when we get to Star Trek Nemesis, or read some of the books where he's captain.
Well, so here's the flip side of, well, okay, Riker, you're married to your starship. We can never be together anyway. Mm-hmm. Well, what does she want?
That's a good question.
And I guess I could ask it in the way that my dad always said, very, I'm going to say pejoratively, but he was like, Freud's thing was like, what do women want? And it's like, yeah, well, men, we're stupid. We can't figure it out. That's what. But I'm just asking generally, like, you can't say, well, you want a starship, so this won't work. Well, what do you want that this won't work that way? So,
I mean, I could be misremembering because it has been a while since we read Imazadi. And remember, we're all going to read Imazadi for a special episode at the end of the season.
I remember that.
So start reading it if you
I
haven't
remember
already.
that when he said it. I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Start reading it if you haven't already. But I'm pretty sure I remember that Riker leaves her in Imzadi. So I feel like he's being a little too jealous of somebody that chose to break off the relationship.
That was a little strange. They hit that pretty hard suddenly.
People aren't always logical, and maybe it wasn't until he was faced with that closes the door for them.
Okay, you're right.
It's it's very much like, oh, that's cool, and then once a girl you're interested in actually, well, we can't date, and then but once they actually start dating somebody, I say a girl, it could be whatever. It could work in any combination. Yeah. And then
non-gender binary.
Oh, now I'm going to be an a-hole. Now that you actually finally went and changed the dynamic of our relationship.
Yeah.
Hey, now that there's somebody interested in you, I'm really interested in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, Riker definitely.
I didn't take it that way.
Riker definitely shows immaturity in this first season.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, as good as he is at his job.
Well, and they say that that's I can't remember if Wyatt or Troi or who says like, well, that's the way Earthmen act. They act very immature or whatever, or they react that way.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
And if the point of marriage is to be together for a long time, he just wants the cow or the milk for free from the cow. Like he wants to be with Troi, but not be with Troi.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, from this episode you get the impression that she's the one that's putting up the barriers.
Yeah. You get the impression that he's maybe wanted to rekindle and she's said no.
That's the impression it gives.
Yeah.
But I guess if that's not the case, then Troi being like, wait a minute, what are you mad about now? I've been sitting here ready for a while. Now you're mad? No.
I mean, they're both going to have other love interests between now and finally getting together.
Yep.
One of them, a relatively long-term serious one. So it's...
I was kind of upset about that one.
Yeah, that one wasn't great.
No, I liked it.
Oh, you did? Okay, we'll get to that. Back to the dinner party, I think is where we were at. Data and Holm have the best reactions at the dinner party. Like, just facial expressions and goofy stuff they do. And
I love Data circling the table. I love him looking at the valet. It's
great.
And
and then, I mean, a lot of the stuff he does great in that scene is nonverbal. But then we've got Picard being like, Data, quit like circling like a hawk. And he's like, but it allows me to better observe. And then when Troy's like, stop your petty fighting, he's like, you can continue your petty fighting. I find it quite interesting.
Well, and it's very funny. What he says is very funny, but it's read so straight, which is what makes it funny.
Spiner's amazing. And I think Holm was a great foil for him. I saw the interactions.
Yeah.
And he seemed a similar type. Holm played by Carol, Carel, Strachan. Best known for playing Lurch in the 90s Addams Family.
Oh, that's what
films.
the whole time I looked at him, I was thinking Ted Cassidy.
And the giant in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, the whole time I looked at him, I was thinking Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch, and of course, the assistant in what do little androids dream of, made of, from the original series. The big, was it Baylock? The big creature that would appear and throw people down the bottomless pit, which those security guard officers are still in. So
Holm is only in 5 episodes, so Lwaxana pops up once or twice without him.
Okay.
But he's in most of her episodes. He's also in an episode of Star Trek Voyager as a different character. We're getting through a lot of these guest stars, so let's go over the rest of the guest stars while we're at it. Nan Martin played Mrs. Miller. I can't remember her name all along.
Oh, okay.
She's best known for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Shallow Hal. She was in Castaway. She's got a ton of credits.
She in Shallow Hal. She's there's like. Have you guys seen Shallow Hal?
No, I haven't.
It's a.
I think I know her best as Mrs. Lauder from the Drew Carey Show.
Oh yeah.
She also voiced in the Pirates of Darkwater.
In Shallow Hal, she plays. So in Shallow Hal, he gets help from Tony Robbins, and he can see the true soul of people. So it's a beautiful young woman, but when Jack Black looks at her, it's an older woman in the same outfit and everything, and I think that's her. So
her husband is played by Robert Ellenstein, best known for North by Northwest and as the Federation Council President in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
I just
which
saw
we
North
just
by
watched
Northwest last night. Who did he play? Does it say who he played in it?
In Voyage Home?
No, North by Northwest.
Licht. I did not realize he was the Federation Council President in Star Trek IV. That's really odd. And that came out just the year before.
Huh.
So that's odd they brought him back so quickly for something else. But now that you say it, I'm like, he was a bit of a pervert, but also my kind of man. I liked the detail about how we've made a compromise. Only the bride and groom and mother of the bride go naked, and also my father. And it's like, your mother's not, the guests are. What's the mother's got to be annoyed that the father's going to go naked anyway. Yeah. I feel like I want to see, this was not my alternate episode, but I want to see what their marriage is outside of this? Like, what did they actually get along? Because they seem like they wouldn't be two people to get along very
I feel
well.
like his thing has to be when in Rome.
I don't think so.
No,
I think he just wanted to see Lwaxana
just
naked.
in this specific instance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his argument.
Sure.
Right, but he'd see her naked anyway, even if he were clothed.
But I'm with you because I think that's another reason I wish that Wyatt's mom was more not caricature. She was more of a.
I mean, my third alternate episode is this all happens when Troy's still a teenager because her reactions could have easily happened as a teen.
Oh, her tantrum was very
teenager.
Could have fit in a Dawson's Creek episode.
Absolutely. Other guest stars, we had Ray Burke played Ren, who was the guy on the ship with the sick girl.
He looked like the Kenny Aronoff, the former drummer for John Cougar Mellencamp.
He did some episodes of LA Love, Coach, Silk Stockings, Night Court. Best known for Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Huh.
Actually, he was also in Naked Gun, the original. Doc Hollywood, Throw Mama from the Train. And then we have Danitza Kingsley as the sick girl, the main girl. And she's best known from the movie Amazons.
Which girl was she?
The girl in White's Dreams.
I'll keep thinking of it. I'll look it up and see if I can remember.
She doesn't have many credits.
That's too bad.
This was what she's second best known for. And then, finally, we come to Wyatt himself, played by Robert Knepper.
Yeah.
Who is way more famous now. He played T-Bag in Prison Break. He was in A Seer of Heroes. He was in the movies Hitman, Transporter 3, Hostage. More recently, he was in 20 episodes of iZombie. He did a few episodes of Homeland. Was in the new Twin Peaks. Okay. So he's a lot more popular now than he would have been here. And he usually plays real creeps. He was also in 6 episodes of Stargate Universe, actually. So this was weird to me to see him as like a nice guy and almost heroic guy when I'm so used to seeing him as such an awful person. But I like him. He will also guest star in an episode of Star Trek Voyager as a different character. So back to Dinner Party, sorry. Fashion. All the women had their hair done for the dinner party.
Yeah.
Crusher's looked great.
Yeah, that was my note. That was my first fashion note. Was her hair looks awesome. Yeah. I just stop and take a note for that.
I liked that, or I don't know if I liked, Troy's outfit through the dinner party and stuff was the same cut as her regular outfit, but like way more fancy.
Yeah, it was a little fancier, a little more casual.
But it was the same cut. It even had the belt thing.
Yeah, well, and I was wondering about that, and then when she stormed out, I was like, yep, it fits the same all around. Yep, It did. But I thought I liked it, though. But
Troy's fancy pants.
Yeah. And her hair looked great.
I liked Tom's robe. I want to wear that.
Is that the...
It's comfortable.
Is that the valet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked all the parents and their fashions.
All of them. Lwaxana Troi, the Millers.
Wyatt's clothes. Wyatt's I'm going to go save people clothes were cool.
Yeah. I do wonder, though, this is another episode where it's like, why didn't the crew go to dress uniforms?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I felt like they should have.
Yeah, as much as...
With Lwaxana being a very important person.
And as much as Picard was getting into the wedding thing, I'm surprised they didn't.
I think Picard really likes weddings. I think that's a characteristic we haven't explored with him yet.
I think you're right. And I thought Tasha Yar's hair didn't look good.
No, but...
Her regular cut...
Tasha Yar in general in this episode was just...
Her regular Kate Jones haircut is much better. Shout out Kate Jones. I also put this under fashion, but everyone gets naked. That's the most disappointing part about not having the wedding is how they would have shown that.
Well, Lwaxana was trying to help us with the hair pieces and stuff. And the headdresses. And
But which one of these do I look better in naked?
I love it.
Any other fashion notes? Because I get some more about the dinner party.
I think that was all.
Did you notice that at the dinner party, everybody had different food on their plates?
No.
Oh, no.
You'd think, was it buffet style or?
Well, they've got replicators, so they can just go. Give me
I get that, but so does that mean you no longer like?
Here.
I feel like you'd still pick a menu for a formal occasion.
I would think so.
It looked like, and I could be wrong, it was hard to tell because the quality is not as good, but it looked like Crusher might have had some chili dogs on her plate, which made me like her even more.
That's funny.
The gong.
Oh, the gong.
We got to talk about the gong.
I didn't realize until you pointed it out that she was doing that.
Every time Lwaxana took
I don't know if I would have picked it up if you had mentioned it.
And I really loved it as part of her ongoing mission to annoy the in-laws because she's like, it's a Beta Z tradition. And Mrs. Miller's like, but you didn't do this last time we met you. And she's like, well, I do it now. Some of us go through Grove.
Oh, wait, I don't think we actually said it on the mic yet.
What?
But it's for every bite that she was taking.
Oh,
yeah.
You're right.
We were kind of like talking over it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I liked the plant pet. I thought that was a clever classic Star Trek type thing. What I didn't like at the dinner party was Yar's reaction to learning they'd be nude.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I feel like she'd be open to that.
And also, just, you don't need to react like that. You're a security officer. You didn't brief on the customs of the...
Again, get to know the people in the rest of the galaxy.
Well, that's just your job to brief on the customs of who's coming on board. Yeah. So right after the dinner party, Wyatt, Riker and Troi have their little moment, and then Wyatt goes to talk to her. And he first says, well, our parents are compromising now. Your mother even backed after you left, which makes... even though it's hard to see Lwaxana backing down, I buy it. But then he says, and I just caught my dad practicing looking naked in the mirror. And I'm like, okay, it's been like 3 minutes since you left the dinner party. They had time to compromise, and your dad had time to go back to his room and get naked?
His dad really is a perv.
I mean, yes, but unless his dad, stripped right there at the dinner party and went to a mirror, I don't know how that had time to be true. Unless he was just saying that to make Troi laugh.
We got past... I put Picard had as an amazing party trick.
What was that?
I declare this dispute over. Resolved.
We don't argue here, so it's over.
Allowed.
Yeah. I don't. It's like a parent yelling at their kids. I don't care who started it. I'm ending it. Yeah. Only much classier. Much classier.
I was saying during the episode, I wish you could just bring him to every party now.
No kidding.
I will say that Wyatt and Deanna's meet was not meet cute. It was meet awkward.
Yeah.
Painfully awkward.
Although when they had their kiss, that felt very Ruth's theme again with the music.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same theme, but it was that kind of moment.
Then when they kiss before he leaves, he's like, remember we did this. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's called kissing. You're not from a you're not a Scalosian. You know what this is called.
He was homeschooled. He's never kissed a girl.
What means this kiss?
Whereas Troy's like, I did Riker. The kissing is like the first thing we did. We did that before I learned his name.
That's not even first base. That's stepping into the batter's box.
Yeah. What did you think of the design of the Tyrellian ship?
It was weird. What was the big bubble?
So I said it looked like a
bubble.
Starfleet construction, but some of the curves and shape were almost a little Ferengi, and then the giant soap bubble.
Yeah. Which
made no sense to me. There wasn't much point of it.
Energy thing.
It looked interesting. I could probably try to force there to be meaning behind it, but I don't think it would function necessarily any better than any other shape.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Trillians, they talk about how they came to their fate. There were two groups. One of them used a biological weapon on the other, and by the way, the group that used it got infected. Very on the nose for 1987 and for 2019 of the whole Cold War thing.
But that was almost stolen from Let This Be Your Last Battlefield.
Yeah.
This episode borrowed heavily from a lot of original series episodes.
I feel like that's very Roddenberry. Like, hey, I just want to mention there's still a Cold War going on, and this is the way it works, and let's get it in there.
And yet, usually when we're talking about an episode borrowing heavily from the original series, it's not a positive thing.
Right.
This time it felt like it was.
Yeah.
Like they borrowed good things from the original.
Well, Amok Time was my first alternate episode too, so.
I mean, it was basically a rewrite of Amok Time.
Yeah.
Next gen stuff.
I like that they call it a pre-joining announcement. Isn't that just announcing our engagement?
Yeah.
Speaking
but
of
it's
which,
beta's
wedding announcement? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about the way you said it. What I've written, when Riker said engage the last time at the end of the show.
I missed that.
Wow, Keith. This is why we should probably watch episodes more than once, because Keith watched it twice, and he's catching the things.
I noted this while we were watching, but when Crusher tells Wyatt, it'd be good to talk to a medical person. It's like, you have a whole staff. That's a sick burn of the rest of the
Nurse
staff.
Agawa is in the back of the room shooting her death glares.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What?
I don't think we've met the nurse yet, but
wish
she's
we
in a bunch of
had
episodes.
Medical people on this ship besides me. Yeah.
She'll get her own chapel soon enough.
Yeah. Oh.
I feel like I'm sure she meant it more like a research or a medical up here as opposed to just being like a...
Well, yeah, we spoiler alert. Crusher's leaving at the end of the season to head all of Starfleet Medical. So maybe she just meant that the rest of her staff here is not on her level.
I also wrote "We're all getting laid." That was in response to everyone getting naked at the wedding. I mean, that's a problem at weddings in general because everybody's drunk and everyone feels like, oh, love's in the air. Get everyone naked. I feel like you're up in the ante.
But you also have all your older relatives there. That could be a buzzkill.
That could be.
Like, oh, pretty bridesmaid. Oh, Uncle Jerry behind you. Okay.
Well, it better be a buzzkill.
I think just relatives, period, is a buzzkill, actually.
I will say there is a wedding scene in Imzadi, and they are all nude.
All right.
So Riker has seen Lwaxana Troi naked before.
So, to go back to yours, Troi goes to talk to Bill on the holodeck. And he's like, well, he's being petulant's not the right word, but he's like, oh, you're going to leave me. Is Troi hinting towards, okay, so I'm betrothed or whatever to this guy, but we can still have a thing?
I just thought she meant that doesn't mean we didn't still have that. Like, these different things can exist. We now have a platonic friendship, love.
Yeah, that's what she said, but the way she said it made me think she was talking, well, we can still do stuff. Because it didn't...
Wyatt's not going to be on the ship.
Because when she says platonic, if she means platonic, then it's like, you could still be in the friend zone, which is like, can you think of anything worse to say to me at this point? Which is, we'll still have this bond. It's like,
you'll always be my first love.
I'd rather you just say, we shouldn't hang out anymore than say that.
Well, there's something I wanted to point out.
But that's also me.
Well, just want to let you know, Bill, Wyatt's into this. So
there's something from the beginning of the episode that I wanted to point out. That when they were setting up the conflict, they were actually saying or heavily implying that Troi was going to leave the ship.
Yes.
Immediately.
They said it explicitly.
So it's not like that would have been in their relationship regardless.
Picard asked her straight out.
Yes.
You leaving? Yeah.
And that's the other...
But a pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith.
Well, my point being that there couldn't have been any sort of...
Gotcha. Shore leave meetups. Whenever he gets his leave.
Well, and that's the other part of... Oh, I forgot about this, which is... Oh, I forgot about this. By the way, not only am I getting married to this guy, I'm leaving the ship, by the way. If I didn't mention it. I feel like that's something...
I feel like they should not have started the episode with telling us that, because that immediately took away all stakes of is she going to end up
there. It did.
That is pretty much what I wrote, too. It's good for conflict, but virtually guarantees that the marriage won't happen.
Yeah. Right.
It's going to be all about, how is this not going to happen now?
Well, I thought that was very clever with the drawings. I stopped midway and asked Stephen if you realized who was on the ship yet.
No, I didn't.
And it was very nice that there was that little hint early on that then dovetails into the...
Yeah, and I think it's the better way of... And there are many movies after this did it. Mm-hmm. Essentially, I guess Troy's the Baxter because she's the one who ends up getting dumped in a sense. Mm-hmm. But it works out. It's like, oh, they broke up. And everyone's happy. It was very amicable. Yeah. He gets to go be the savior and be with Denitra or whoever her name is. And Troy's going to stay with Riker. Everyone's happy. And everything works out. It's not a Deus Ex Machina, but it's definitely oh, you know what? We should break up. You know what? I'm okay with this. You okay with this? Yeah, I'm great with this.
This is something Ex Machina.
Yeah. I love the Troians for a couple of reasons. Their ship, when he beams over and he's talking back to them, he and my Nicolette Sheridan girl, they are not looking straight at the camera. They're looking as if they're talking to a screen that has them on it. I feel like that's one of the first times we see that, and that makes more sense in any world, I think. And I just kind of like, maybe we'll see in other episodes. That's the first time I noticed in any Star Trek, they're actually they're actually looking at a camera that isn't perfectly set up in front of them. And I thought that was really cool.
I did not catch that.
I don't know. We probably mentioned this at the time of the episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. But I was just the Next Greatest Discovery, our Greatest Gen, Greatest Discovery guys just did that episode. They don't do many original series episodes, but they got to the Deep Space Nine episode where they are involved. Yeah. And so they did that episode. I listened to it this week. And they talked about how while they're talking to the head of the station, the Enterprise is behind him through the window.
Oh, that's funny.
And even though they're talking to the Enterprise, and I love that perspective.
That's great. See, that's very good. The other part, and this might be my favorite part of the episode, as much fun as it was when the Troians are like, "Hey, man, we don't want to screw up your planet. We just want to sit and watch the sun and be in a nice place and die." And I thought that was so poignant, and it was so nicely understated and not... they didn't put a stinger there. They didn't, they didn't put heavy dark music. They were just like, these guys are just like, we have known this is going to happen for years, and we've accepted it. And I just thought it was delivered so, not flippantly, but understated and just very. That's a heavy thing to be like, man, we're not here to destroy your planet. We just want to die. We want to die with dignity. We want to die someplace nice. We just want to go to a nice resting place. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was fantastic. I just thought to work that into an episode, credit to Torme or whoever, but I thought that was really nicely done. And while I'm talking about stingers, the lack of, I think that's the other reason that the Data stuff, his stuff lands better so far, is that when there's funny lines that he says and things like that, there's not a whoop, 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 whoop music. It's just like, oh, that's funny. Most of the time, and definitely in this episode, but it's not like, hey, in case you didn't notice, Data's pretty funny, waka, waka, waka. It's like, no, he says it, and we laugh like crazy, and they go on the episode, so.
I have some Data stuff that was probably going to fit better in the next episode, I think. Yeah. Well, episode after next.
Yeah, we haven't watched the next episode yet, Keith. Speaking of next episode, well, next week we're going to rank Tracy Torme's 2 episodes, which is better or worse. I have a feeling that they'll be so fresh in my mind at that point that I'll have trouble ranking them. Yeah. So let's kind of pre-rank them. I think this one was better.
I do too. Yeah.
Without having seen the other one, I think this one was a lot better.
I'd be surprised if something could top this, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I remember it very, very, very well. It's almost as if I just watched it last week. And I think this one's way better.
If I had to take a guess, I would say that was also an example of Picard and Patrick Stewart, showing a little bit more of the comic timing and.
Are you talking about The Big Goodbye, Keith, that we haven't watched yet?
Yes, that one.
Come back next week. Let's talk about The Big Goodbye. This was also a story by Lon O'Koon, who's best known as a writer in Lamb Chop's Play Along. This was the only Star Trek story.
Sherry Lewis is Lamb Chop?
The puppet?
Yeah. Oh, it all connects.
Yeah.
Sherry Lewis, writers of The Lights of Zatar.
That's probably why they had the gift box in this episode. They had to have a puppet of some sort. Yes, I forgot she was the writer of The Lights of Zatar. That's awful.
My other alternate episode was goes back to my last note about that.
Oh, real quick. The
sure.
story by this writer also wrote 31 episodes of The Love Boat. Thought that was relevant.
Oh, that was relevant. Sense. That makes total sense. And Mel Torme was on The Love Boat. This kind of goes back to my last thing about the guy talking about where the Trillians want to die. 6 Feet Under in Space.
Oh, I love 6 Feet Under.
So if this is the first episode, I would watch that.
Then we get a montage at the end of how they all die. Troy and Riker in each other's arms. Lwaxana Troi doing pissing off the wrong person.
There you go. Yeah.
Mr. Holm finally snapping and killing her.
I just read. I read two. I was at 2 different ones. One was the 100 greatest quotes from 6 Feet Under, and the other was just somebody saying, "Hey, you should binge watch 6 Feet Under. I loved it. By the way, just get an entire assortment of Kleenexes for the last episode."
Yes.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh my God, it's such a good show, Keith.
Yeah.
That's our next podcast.
There you go.
I'm on for that. It's all been 6 Feet Under before.
What I mean is I still haven't seen the last season of it.
Oh, okay. I thought it ended well.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it.
That was one of Morgan's few shows for a while. We watched all of 6 Feet Under. Yeah.
I had a couple things. Mm-hmm. One is probably a little bit too much to get into. The other is just the technical curiosities that Lwaxana revealed. One, of course, was the transporter thing where she's facing the wrong way, which
she would know better.
But no, I mean, how would you do that? Would you just turn around and face the? I mean, does it automatically put people the same orientation?
Was she turned backwards on the beam down the platform she was on?
See, that's what I'm saying, because I mean, usually
if she was on a platform,
right?
When you have people like being randomly beamed up from different surfaces, sometimes they're oriented in such a way that
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Maybe also, the transport chief was like, it looks like she's backwards. Should I correct it? No, she'll bite my head off if I correct it without permission. But also, if I don't correct it, she might bite my head off, and I can't decide. Let's just beam her.
But I mean, it seems like this is the sort of thing the computer would do automatically anyway. Like, this is with the faces.
Oh yeah, right.
So the other thing was the voice activation and the turbo lift, where Picard actually had to hold up a hand. It's like
stop her for a second.
Stop talking for a second so I can say this.
I liked that bit.
Yeah.
I liked the button on the episode where Lwaxana's leaving and she makes sure to hit on Picard and Riker, and then leaves Picard with that joke about, nobody's thought that dirty about me. I mean, definitely she'll have some flirtation with Picard when she returns, but I don't know. I feel like they could be good sparring partners. I feel like they're on a... He can handle her. They're on a level.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd have the patience to put up with her full time.
Right.
But I can see that.
Yeah.
I did think it was kind of dumb that Ham spoke at the end of the show.
I didn't understand
because he's not going to speak again, like, later.
Right.
Maybe once, but, like, he stays silent again. But she even said, like, oh, he only does sign language. And if there was, like, a good point or a good joke to land, but there wasn't. It was kind of wasted.
Was it just tying back to the fact that he likes to drink?
I mean...
So that was... He was willing to talk, and so he could thank him for that?
But I did really appreciate, and this may be because of his too many drinks, that he had to sit on the case as he beamed away. Instead of standing. Any other notes before we get to rankings?
No. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, let's start with Wesley's annoyance factor. How annoying was Wesley in this episode?
Was he in it?
Nope.
No, that's why I'm giving him... It's a 1.
A 1?
He wasn't in it.
Keith? Was it annoying that he wasn't in it, though? That could count against him.
I'll have to go with a 1, I think.
I'm giving it a 1, too, all the way across the board. Who was the annoyance in this episode?
Oh.
I mean...
I'm tempted to go Yar again for the 3rd time in a row, but
I'm gonna go with
but I think I'm going to go with Mrs. Miller because I just didn't see how she fit with Mr. Miller. Yeah. She did not seem like she was good to go with things. She was too easily fooled. She just didn't seem like a consistent, well thought out character to me.
I would have said the woman on the planet surface.
I was just thinking her too.
Yeah.
The administrator woman?
Yeah, yes. I liked her, then I soured on her. I'm sour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with her too.
That is what I'm marking for you two. Attractive man, woman of Star Trek. Let's start with Stephen.
I'm going with the Nicolette Sheridan looking person.
I mean, female Khan.
Yeah, we didn't give Keith a chance to bring up that she looked like Khan and almost had as good an abs. I'm just going to put her as female Khan. Which means, Stephen, somehow... Klingon, I think when you watch The Big Goodbye, you're going to bounce back to Klingon woman.
Oh, I might. I just might.
Or do you think you might want to keep female Khan? Just right now, what are you thinking?
I'm going to stay with female Khan.
Okay. So not that I need to change it, but...
Right.
God, I hope Chris cuts out your choice when we pre-record. And this, it's hard, but I'm going to go with Lwaxana Troi. All right. I'm tempted. I'm going to go with her. I know she's a little old for me, but she's
not. I thought about that early on.
When I was watching the show as a kid, she was definitely too old for me, but now...
Didn't we? Works. I feel like early on we picked number 1 because we were allowed to pick her.
I did pick number 1. Yes.
So. Yeah. I probably picked Ensign Jones or something.
I just liked her, and I think that may also change my thing next week when I was going to keep Klingon woman.
Oh, that's
which I'm sure, Chris. I hope you cut the Klingon woman talk in the next episode, and we'll just skip that one. We'll just skip ranking in that episode, and you can leave this in so people know why we skipped ranking because we filmed them out of order. Keith, you've been gone a few episodes. You were last on Ballerina from Where No One Has Gone Before. You've been gone for 5 episodes.
I would have been tempted for Lwaxana, but she just reminds me too much of my mother.
Oh yeah, you don't want that.
It's just
you don't want that.
Yeah, physical attractiveness is overshadowed by that.
I mean, I will say I would have chosen Crusher over her if that was an option, but it's not. So.
Crusher then. Yeah.
You can't choose Crusher.
It's kind of slim pickings in that sense, isn't it? It's just like there's.
Well, you have the 2 harp girls. You have the sick girl. You have the planet administrator.
Well, the harp girl then, yeah.
Which one, the blonde or the brunette?
I can't remember.
Generic harp girl.
Whichever one was actually playing the harp.
They both were.
Okay.
And parentheses, can't remember, because that's how much of an impression she made on Keith. Do you think you'll keep them through the Big Goodbye?
Probably not.
Oh, you're going to change it up next week in the Big Goodbye? There's the secretary.
If I were there.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
If I can make it to this.
I'm just saying, even though you haven't watched the episode yet, do you think you'd replace?
Most likely.
You don't know who with, though?
Well, I guess I'll have to find out when I watch the episode.
Okay. You're not playing along right, Keith. Ranking this episode. I mean, let's start with Encounter at Farpoint. Better or worse?
I like this better.
Me too. Yeah. Above Encounter at Farpoint is the battle. That is the Ferengi Return the Stargazer.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I think I might like this better, though.
Yeah.
I think I like the battle more, honestly. But
yeah. You gotta vote it. But that will matter as we keep going up. The last outpost is what's above that. The first Ferengi episode. I like this better. But if Stephen doesn't, then...
Interesting. See, because I would have liked the battle better than both of those.
That's the way I was.
Well, then you should show up so you can help us rank them.
So I'm going to stick with this one then too.
This one better than the last outpost?
Sure.
That brings us all the way to the current ranking champ of the season, the Naked Now. I like this better. Keith, you want to make an argument?
I'm trying. It's. Any thoughts?
I'm leaning Haven just because Naked Now was
recency bias.
Yeah, it's that too.
I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
I think there's some of that, but
I think more happened to the Naked Now, honestly.
Yeah,
I think so. But I think this was such a good mix of great guest stars, interesting plot, good references to original series, good character development. I just think this had a lot of great elements to it.
There's a lot going on, but not in the same sense.
The Naked Now might have had all of those elements except without the great guest stars. And so that, to me, would be the deciding... I don't know.
Yeah.
Funny that Tracy Torme's 2 episodes are so different because we're putting Haven at number 1. And I'm predicting we're going to put The Big Goodbye as next to last, right above Code of Honor. So tune in next week to find out if I'm right.
That doesn't make me look forward to watching that one.
Yeah. Man, if only we did not have to watch it, I would be so glad. Like, if we had gotten it out of the way a week ago. That would have been really
watch
great.
that and then watch the next episode after that, right after that.
Let's watch, Data Lore.
Data Lore, yeah.
Unless we just want to vote to never watch The Big Goodbye. Well, until next time, live long, bang it gone.
Imagine your wedding goers naked.
And their schlongs. Yeah, to keep it rhyming. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And prosper.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?